The reactions, let's quickly open this up. Syed Zafar Islam, national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Tushar Gupta, political analyst. Captain Alok Bansal, director, India Foundation. Lokesh Jindal, Professor Mondal, both political analysts. And Kamruzaman Chaudhary completes the panel. Lokesh, should diplomacy, diplomatic efforts be dismissed as a Bollywood film? What is wrong with the Congress party? What is the DDLJ jibe at the Prime Minister?
Well, good evening, everybody. Foreign policy isn't supposed to be merely a policy, but it must also be effective. From the last 5 years, since the March 2020 engagement, we have seen that we have failed to restore the status quo that existed in March 2020. Now, any form of a dialogue or an engagement which is not effective enough to restore the interests of India, or which is not able to secure national security and national interests, will not be of any use or effect to us. On what basis are we to justify that the engagement is fruitful, that the engagement is productive? But then what we see on the ground
Lokesh, on
is
what
right
basis
now,
have you concluded? And by the way, this is for our viewers who are watching this. By the way, viewers, the Congress statement, the DDLJ jibe, came even before the Modi-Jinping meeting had begun. So, some informed source in the, I don't know, in Xi Jinping's camp, called the Congress party to tell them that it will not be fruitful. And that is what Lokesh Jindal is also repeating. Tushar Gupta, should we be jumping to conclusions? I mean, in this case, just imagine the statement comes while the PM is abroad and even before the meeting has begun.
Good evening, Pranesh. Look, what different can you expect from the Congress? Last week, they were siding with the separatists harbored in Canada. Before that, they have been seen meeting the ambassadors of countries who are engaged in a standoff with. So China taking a contrarian stand to the Indian government is no surprise. It's absolutely no surprise. In fact, today, Congress is expected to oppose everything that is good for the country. But Congress cannot be expected to understand the intricacies of foreign policies, for they are infamous for giving up Indian lands, as Nehruji did in 1962. But Pranesh, understand the significance of this meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Xi Jinping. 5 years have passed since they last met. In those 5 years, the domestic political capital of both the leaders has transformed completely. While Xi Jinping struggles with the faltering domestic economy, and only last week, China had a big fiscal injection into its economy. The economic situation is quite bad right now, and it's unfortunate that it doesn't get the attention it really deserves. But look at the Prime Minister on the other hand. An unprecedented third consecutive term, our economy, our macro fundamentals are going strong. So look at the domestic political capital these two leaders are bringing since 2019. We have had 2 years of pandemic, a supply chain crisis, the Russia-Ukraine war, and now these two leaders are engaging. And let me be very clear about this, Pranesh. People might think that India is probably reluctant or probably submissive in this entire arrangement. It's not. Today, China needs India more than India needs China, because an Atmanirbhar India is very much possible. It's still going to go on. That pursuit is not going to stop. But where does it leave China? It leaves them isolated in the diplomatic affairs. You look at how the Quad is evolving, and we might have a Trump presidency a fortnight from now, which won't be easy on China. So China is also securing its larger global interests, and that is where India comes into play. But can you expect Congress or its spokespersons to understand all these intricacies? Absolutely not. They just want to find an excuse to bash the Indian government, the stance of our nation, and that's all they can be expected to do.
No, they must bash the Indian government, but it has to be substantive, based on something. At the cost of repeating myself, you can't be jumping at shadows. You can't.